Glad you all to be here today on such a cold day. At this time, I'll ask for roll call.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Tuck,
Here.
Mr. Nicely,
Here.
Ms. White. Mr. Fidzikowski let us know in advance he would not be able to make it today. Chair North,
Here.
Mr. Radford. Here. Mr. Wallace.
Here.
Mayor Cobb.
Here.
Vice Chair, Mayor Turk. You have so many titles.
Here, thank you.
Mr. Holliday. Here. Mr. Lyles. Mr. Stovall.
Here.
Mr. Price. Mr. Stewart.
Here.
Mr. Huber.
Present online.
Mr. Holliday just arrived. And Mr. King.
Here.
Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Moving on to item 3, any changes to the agenda? Jeremy?
Mr. Chair, we have had a request from VDOT staff to remove the resolution of support for the Blue Ridge Innovation Corridor from the consent agenda item and immediately vote on that as a separate item.
Okay. You get a motion on that?
Yeah, motion to remove
Move
that.
Hear a motion on that?
I move that we remove the resolution to support Blue Ridge Innovation Center forward over 20 investments, and that's page 48 to 49. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Second.
Okay. Having said that, we'll look now at item 3A, B, C, and D. The rest of the consent agenda, do I have a motion that we accept those items in the consent agenda?
Consent
agenda.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Now, item 3.1, which is the resolution of support for the Blue Ridge Innovation Corridor, Route 220 investments, pages 48 to 49. I'll entertain a motion to do that resolution. Motion so moved.
Yeah, second.
Second. Okay, all in favor, say aye. Roll call on that.
No, we don't have roll call.
Good. Just, all right, now, Mr. Chair, just have the record reflect I abstained from that. Gentlemen, be thing. Thank you. Item 4, remarks by the chair. First of all, I want to welcome Joe Cobb back to the RVTPO. Where you been, Joe? Welcome back. I took a little break, but glad to be back. Okay, good deal. Glad to have you. Please be sure to review the RVTPO meeting schedule in today's packet and mark your calendars appropriately. We look forward to working with everyone in the coming year as we enter another round of Smart Scale, round 7, and a new administration in Richmond. I understand Neil Donahue is the new designee for Secretary of Transportation.
Nick Donahue.
Nick
Donahue,
Donahue,
so
yeah.
previous secretary, previous deputy secretary of the previous administration, yes,
He's been around the block, knows all the moves, so that's great to have him back.
indeed.
Also, mark your calendar for Thursday, February 12th at 3 p.m. We'll hold an annual new member orientation for both the regional commission and for the RVTPO. So anyone that's new, I highly recommend you attend that. Good opportunity for new members and veterans who want to refresh and learn more about these organizations' work in our region and your responsibility as board members. We also encourage the transportation and community development staff, particularly those who are new to the region, to attend. More information will be sent out in January. Megan, you got any new people who haven't been before, they might want to. Come on, anybody else in local government's got any new people? Welcome them too. RVTPO will begin accepting submissions for projects to be included in the FY27 Unified Work Program on January the 5th. Projects will be submitted through a new online portal and will be reviewed by staff and PTC for recommendation. Projects that snack non-transportation funds such as economic development administration funding will also be reviewed by the regional commission's work program and budget committee. Please watch for an invitation to submit, which will be sent to all TTC members and locality planning directors later this month. Finally, I want to provide you with an update on the recent meeting of the I-81 Corridor Improvement Plan Advisory Committee. Some $227 million has been provided to address the S curves in Roanoke County. That's some good news for the region. Well, thank the governor for that. As of now, $2.25 billion in funding is expected to be made available through 2034. The advisory committee made recommendations to the CTB, which were considered at their 12/9 meeting. Final funding scenario will be adopted on January 6, 2026. And in large part, many of these projects are like the next tranche of projects that are going to take place after the current round of projects are complete. Hear more about that in time. A long list of projects that were measured and recommended based on a smart scale analysis up and down the corridor. Okay. This time, Chair recognizes Paula Benke and Megan Cronice with Roanoke County for updates on the Fortran Servicing Program, pages 51 through 61 of your agenda. Welcome, Paula.
Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the board. I hope you can hear me okay. Appreciate this opportunity to come and speak to you about the two transit programs that Roanoke County offers to our citizens. I work with Megan and Nathan and Summer in the planning department for Roanoke County as a transit planner. And have a brief presentation for you today. And if you have any questions, just let me know. So the two programs that we're going to be talking about today is the County of Roanoke Transportation Program, otherwise known as Fortran, as well as the Female Trailhead Shuttle. We'll start with Fortran today. As many of you know, this program was launched in 1985 by our administration in Roanoke County to serve our citizens who are individuals that may need independent living to remain active in our communities. So for individuals who are age 65 or better, or individuals who may have a cognitive disability, we provide transportation to them through a ride-share program. And I'll get to the next slide in a little bit. Let's get ahead of myself here. So it does operate Monday through Friday from 7 to 6 p.m. Individuals can take trips to Roanoke County, Roanoke City, town event, or city of Salem. Unlimited trips, fare is $5 one way, $10 round trip, as well as the scheduling options are they can either call in and talk to a real life human being, or they can use an app, which we have about 25% of our population that uses the Fortran app to schedule their rides, or they can go online through a web portal to schedule trips. This is a picture of the Ron and Melanie van that we are currently using through Virginia Regional Transit that is all wheelchair accessible. We had a ribbon cutting not too long ago. Virginia Regional Transit has been in transportation probably over 30 plus years. Became our new partner in August, and we're very excited about that. One of the things that's always been important to us is to have a local representation for our residents. They do have an office on Peters Creek Road. I'm told that they get lots of drop-in visitors on a regular basis that want to know about the program. They want to see the van. They can also go in there and set up their payment options, schedule their trip, and pay face-to-face if they choose. It's been a really welcome transition. We're very excited about that partnership. Looking at our trips over the last fiscal years, you can see that we pretty much stayed steady between fiscal year 22 and 24 with a little uptick in 2025, probably about 11%. And I believe a lot of that was due to our community engagement. Our planning department does a lot with being out doing community engagement with community meetings, different sorts of events that I've attended in the community, nursing facilities, which goes along that line. I'm thinking that probably with this our coming year, we'll probably roughly end right around 13,000 rides, maybe a little bit better. And a lot of that is due with our current partnership that we're seeing some efficiencies that we've been able to gain that partnership. It's no surprise that the majority of our folks, the population that we serve, they use the service for medical appointments. We have a lot of reoccurring riders that use it for dialysis or radiation, therapy multiple times during the course of the week. We have seen an uptick this recent past fiscal year where folks are using it for employment. I think it's important to focus on that not only are we seeing some of our seniors that are still in the workforce, that a lot of times folks think, oh, 65, maybe it's time to retire. That's not necessarily the case. But the other population that we serve are the individuals who are young individuals who are still maybe living with mom and dad. Mom and dad have a full-time job. They've been able to secure employment, so now they need help getting to and from work. So that's been a real lifesaver for a lot of our families. We've been very fortunate to work with the Department of Rail and Public Transportation since fiscal year 2022 to receive funding. Probably all in total of the last 5 fiscal years, right around $2.3 million to help offset the operational cost of the program. And as you can see there, we also appreciate that this is always, Port Train is always in the included in the tip. Moving into our other transit service, the shuttle. Many of you may have seen the Caribbean Blue school bus that has been converted into the shuttle that we use for the service. We just actually finished our 4th year with the shuttle. We launched in 2022. We've been very happy with the overall outcome. A lot of you may have been aware in 2020, we had the situation where a lot of folks got pushed outside due to COVID. There was congestion, lots of ordeal at the parking of the trailhead where they were getting ticketed and towed. So I really feel like the shuttle has helped alleviate that. We run it March through November, Friday, Saturday, Sundays, holidays that happen to fall on Monday. Roughly about 12 hours, depending on what the daylight hours are available. And we currently partner with RideSource. They are our vendor through 2027. Fares are $5 plus processing fees. Looking at this map, I think is probably one of the telltale signs. It does outline our current shuttle stops that we have. 2 of Virginia Triple Crown with having McAfee and Dragon's Tooth listed, 2 of our park and rides, and then 2 locations in Salem. I think the other important piece of this is when we did the expansion in 2024, we were so concerned about the parking lot being closed due to the construction of the pedestrian bridge. And we felt like we were going to need additional places for folks to park to be able to catch the shuttle. But what we realized is the connectivity to other opportunities for people to actually hike in our area. It's kind of phenomenal if you stop and think about, you can get on the Virginia Breeze in Washington and get to the exit 140 park and ride, catch the shuttle and hike without getting in a vehicle. So I think, that's one of the things that as we've talked to DRPT about, it's not just about vehicles, it's about how do we move people and how do we get them from point A to point B. So seeing those connectivity points has been really exciting. Looking at our overall shuttle reservations, we had September through November in 22 when we first launched. And pretty much for the most part, we had good reception. Roughly doubled our reservations the next year, which is what I kind of like to look at in current day as our normal. 2024, we did see obviously a spike in reservations due mainly to the parking lot at McAfee being closed. So folks didn't have a choice. They had to take the shuttle, which we were happy about that. We just wrapped up with 1,968 reservations, which is, roughly, again, if I go back and I look at 2023, we exceeded what our new normal was then. So I think that we're going to continue to see that growth in the shuttle. Looking at where our trips are originating at from the 6 shuttle stops that we currently have, again, it's not a surprise to me that the majority of the folks park at exit 140 park and ride. It is the one that has the largest amount of spaces. It's well lit. There's always traffic in and out of there. I'm sure people have a more sense of safety and security with leaving their vehicle there. The trailhead, I think this is one that was surprising to Megan and I as we worked on the shuttle over the last few years. We were so focused on getting the folks who were going to be day hikers. How do we get them there? How do we get them to find a place to park safely, legally? But we didn't take into consideration that the folks that actually want to get off the trail, some of the section hikers, the through hikers that, as they're getting from point A, wherever they've started on the trail, to a place such as where we are in Roanoke or in Salem, that, they need resources. I think the other thing here that I look at is when we had the hurricane, we actually transported hikers that were on the trail who needed to get to safety. So we were actually able to give them an opportunity to do that. Some trends that have kind of stuck out this year with our surveys after everybody completes a trip on the shuttle. A survey is generated, and of course, not everybody fills them out, but from the data that we've received, 67% of the hikers are out of town and they stay in our area an average of 3 days, which I think is important from an economic development standpoint. Along with the next thing, you know, they're staying at a local hotel or an Airbnb. They're not always staying with a family member, so they're spending dollars in our area. 18% of them are return shuttle riders, which is very exciting to me because I think in the beginning we had some opposition. Folks were not all on board with the shuttle, but we're starting to see repeat riders, which is exciting. 33% of our folks that are residents use it on a regular basis. They've kind of gotten educated that I need to take the shuttle. I shouldn't park on Route 311. I shouldn't park somewhere where I'm going to block somebody else in. So we're excited about that. And then the other thing that we continue to celebrate with URPT is that 16% increased connectivity with the Smart Way bus. Again, we see a lot of Virginia Tech students who utilize that to get to the park and ride, who can actually go ahead and take the shuttle. And that's been an exciting number to see increase. Where are they going? One of the other places that they're indicating, they're 44% of the respondents, they're going into Roanoke City, 29% City of Salem, they're going to breweries, they're going to restaurants, they're going to theater, different things. So it's been very exciting to be able to track those numbers and see progress. Just quickly here, some of the things that we have seen. I think the first one was one of the biggest things that we really wanted to address was with the shuttle at McAfee. If you had been up there prior day, you knew that you parked in the parking lot and then you darted across Route 311 to actually start your hike. And so being able to work with VDOT, which we were very blessed with that partnership, to actually come up with where could we put a shuttle pull off that would safely be able to load and unload passengers, and working with them to make that happen really was getting us off the ground to a great start. And that's just one piece. As I get to the next piece, I'll talk a little bit more about darting across the road. Again, providing the transport for through hikers to get to those services. We get a lot of folks that they need to get to Salem. You know, maybe they want to sleep in a bed, maybe they want to get a haircut, maybe they need to replenish their resources, whatever it is. Now we've given them that capability to do so. Obviously, another big ticket item was for number 3, fewer tickets and tows for us. Again, I can't say enough about our partnership with VDOT, and we worked with them on Old Catawba Road, which is very close to the shuttle pull off at McAfee, as maybe some of you may know, to actually put signs on there where people can park that is legally and safely. A better choice. A positive experience for National Park Service. Again, we continue to work with our partners with the National Park Service for an issue that they have that we're trying to find a resolution. Strengthens the tourism in our region. And again, the regional, state, and federal collaboration, the group of stakeholders that we have, and some of you have an extension of a staff member in this room that I know we meet with almost on a monthly basis to talk about everything, you know, Appalachian Trail. And it's really is great to see folks come together and make something happen there. Again, we've been fortunate to work with the Department of Rail and Public Transportation, where we started receiving funding from when we launched the shuttle originally in the fall of 2022. We were recently granted another round of funding to continue us through November 2026. And then moving on to just a couple more things, and I promise I'll move along. Many of you, I hope you had the opportunity to take a quick trip up the mountain and see the pedestrian bridge that VDOT had a huge hand in. Again, $3.6 million in HSIP funding. It opened in April of 2025, going back to folks darting across the road. I can't tell you how many times I've been at the trailhead. The old way that it was set up when people would fall right out onto Route 311 and you just kind of hold your breath. You know, it's a very dangerous situation there. And again, I applaud them and appreciate that partnership that we've had with VDOT to have that bridge open, and it makes such a better experience for everyone. Going back to talking about 2020, when we had the outbreak of folks that, wanted to get outdoors due to COVID. And what a great opportunity. We're blessed to live in an area where they have that capability, and we really truly are blessed. But it also comes with challenges. And one of those challenges was realizing that the parking lot as it sits today, if you've been there, it is gravel, it's not paved, it's not striped, it doesn't tell you where you can and cannot park. And one of the opportunities we found was through commercially directed spending, and was able to submit 2 applications supported by Tim Kane, Mark Warner, for 24 and 25. Both of those applications were submitted and moved on into the appropriations bill. Unfortunately, at this point in time, our current administration, I don't believe that those are going to be signed and come into fruition. Doesn't mean that we won't continue to keep trying. But again, going back to the letters of support with a lot of individuals in this room or your staff that we reached out to again to fix this national parks problem with the stakeholders that are committed. And we were very excited that we actually got Senator Kane when he was here for the ride on the shuttle. So that was nice. Our last estimate was $6.8 million. I want you to think about that for a second. That's what it was this year. As we continue to hopefully find additional funding or apply for this funding through CDS again. There's inflation escalation to talk about, but we're trying to build a flat spot on the side of a mountain. So we shall see. This is a rendering that was created by one of our staff members. This is kind of, if we were to dream up what it was to look like to receive the CDS funding, it's only a concept. Obviously, the National Park Service would have the final say so. But we would want to actually, the existing parking lot, we would want to pave that and stripe it. Along with, we would want to expand, again, making that flat spot on the side of a mountain through the conservation fund with the land that would transfer and be able to have one extensive parking lot, which I think of a total of 109 parking spots after it was paved. We would also add 3 waterless bathrooms, a permanent shelter for the shuttle, and then some original, some signage for the National Park Service. It would also connect to the pedestrian bridge as you see it here. And again, this is just a concept. So obviously the Park Service would have final say so, and they would manage that problem, that project should the funding come through. What questions do you have for me?
Any questions for Paul? Good presentation.
Yes, sir.
How many quarter-end vehicles did you rate?
We have 4, and then we have a 5th one that is built just as a backup with an emergency.
And how often does the shuttle run?
It runs March through
I mean,
November,
how,
Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
is it every 20 to 30 minutes or has it?
We used to run it every 15 minutes where it was just on a continual loop, and we found that, we were just running around, running out of gas. So now wherever the reservation is booked is where they go to that shuttle stop. But they will actually stage at the exit 140 park and ride more in the morning, as if people are gonna book there to start their trail hike. And then in the evening, they're more at the trailhead as people are coming off.
Anyone else? Peter?
With the Cortran data showing that there were more people using it to go to jobs now, were there any employers that stuck out that they were certain employers that people were going to?
It seems like we have a lot of folks that work at Kroger and Goodwill.
Or David?
I just want to put a plug in for Cortrans. I don't know what other localities have, but I've heard about Cortran for quite a while living in the county, and I thought, okay, I'll never be a user of it. But I have an incapacitated uncle, and I had to sign him up. And so I actually have experienced Cortran for him. He's in a wheelchair, and it's a great service. I mean, they came and picked him up in his nursing home, took him to his appointment. They offered me to just ride with him if they had room at the time. Just a great group of people. I mean, it served when we needed to pick up. They were there, Johnny on the spot, and then took him back, so. It's a great service. Paul does a great job of sniffing out those grant funds for us at the county, so. We really appreciate the citizens are very complimentary of us, you know, and Roanoke County is a circle. We got a wide range of travel, like Franklin County, Botetourt County, man, you guys are spread out all over the place, and we are too, because, you know, we're going around the donut hole to try to, you know, get our residents. But anyway, great job, Paul.
Any more questions for Paul about Fortran?
you.
Thank you, Paula. This is a great tool to work to develop workforce transportation when the demand meets it. And I say that to say this, that getting transit into the North Roanoke County area, especially on Plantation Road, we're gonna be looking at this type of service in the future to start out. But like, if our chairman on the board of supervisors offered a ride with the uncle, also help any other. Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. Let's move on to item 6, parking study. Chris Robertson, you're gonna take the lead on this and introduce, I guess?
Yeah. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks for the opportunity to view the final truck parking study. For those of you who don't know, the Roanoke Valley has a truck parking law. It finally got to the point where the localities decided they needed to do something about it. They got with us to commission the study. Our goal of the study was to give the community with stakeholders, gather information, try to quantify the data, and come up with some solutions to it. So we think we had great input. I really appreciate people that participated. We're hoping to call on you guys for a task force later to help join up for this, to help solve some problems. But today we're lucky enough that you don't have to hear about this from me. We've got Brad Shelton here from Michael Baker, who led the study for us.
Welcome.
Thank you, Chris. And thank y'all for the opportunity to come and speak with you all today. Good to see so many familiar faces of those of you that participated in our stakeholder group for this effort over the last few months. Here we go. So I'm going to kind of keep this at a somewhat high level today, just for the time, but to kind of cover what we did for the study, the data that we uncovered as part of the study, and then the recommendations that we identified for a path forward. As Chris mentioned, no surprise to anybody here, there's a truck parking issue in this region. And really, when you look at where you have truck parking issues, trucks have to park to meet their federally required hours of service. So that means either they're hit their time limit, they need to find a place to park. They are electronically monitored, so they can't just circle around forever to try and find a parking space. When they start hitting their hours, they need to park it relatively quickly. The other issue that you see when you have a truck parking issue is you have trucks that may be stacking up because there are local deliveries or local distribution centers, and they're waiting for their pickup time. They're waiting for access to the dock. So those are the kind of things that we were looking at as part of this effort, to determine what the causes were in this region, and then try to help determine what some solutions are. Very quickly, study area, the localities within the region: Alleghany, Botetourt, Craig, Roanoke, cities of Covington, Roanoke, Salem, the towns of Clifton, Forest, Benton. I'll also note that as you see on the map, we added a 5-mile buffer around the locality boundaries, because there are some facilities just outside of the region that still influence this region that we wanted to make sure we captured. So you see that here in a few slides. We started the effort by conducting a research exercise, reviewing any recent truck parking studies, reviewing information that FHWA has on truck parking. And really the conclusion is that not only is there a current issue with truck parking in this region, it's increasing. VDOT did a truck parking study in 2015, identified a deficit of between 500 and 700 truck parking spaces on ID1 between Lexington and Roanoke. They did an updated study in 2022 that looked at the entirety of the Salem district, so a little bit more, much larger than just this region, but the entirety of the Salem district. found a demand of 977 parking spaces and a future demand of almost 1,500 parking spaces in that study. Multiple studies, both the state and the I-81 task force, have identified Troutville as one of the hot spots on the I-81 corridor in need of more parking. So digging into the data, we wanted to see what the data is telling us beyond what we read in those studies. So we looked at the heavy vehicle volumes that you had here in the region. And the answer is there's a lot. So I-81 through the region has more than 10,000 heavy vehicles per day traveling I-81. I-81 is not just one of the most heavily traveled truck corridors in Virginia. It's one of the highest traveled truck corridors in all the US. So you have a lot of vehicles coming through this region. You have about 35% of your total daily traffic on I-81 are heavy vehicles. That is a very high percentage. And looking beyond I-81, looking at your arterials in the region, most of those have pretty high daily traffic volumes of heavy vehicles, as well as you can see on this map. We also ran projections up to 2050. And when we look at 2050, no surprise, the problem does not get better. The issue of heavy trucks in the region continues to increase with really significant increases we noticed on I-64, Route 20, and Route 460. Honestly, it's hard to determine how much of an increase has an impact on I-81 because it is already such a heavy component of the volume that you have out there today. So where are all these trucks parking in the region? Well, we first need to look at the inventory of what you have out there today. And this is why we expanded the study area out a little bit. We have a handful of truck parking facilities, either rest areas or truck stops, travel plazas that just fall outside the region, but they certainly influence the region. So we want to make sure we captured them. So with that, with the study area of this study, you have 9 total facilities, 6 of which are privately owned truck stops or travel plazas, and then you have 3 publicly owned rest areas that have truck parking available. In total, you have 310 official truck parking spaces in the region, 310. So we looked at utilization. We used a data set called ATRI, which actually gets data directly from the trucks themselves. As we mentioned, trucks have electronic monitoring devices. So the ATRI data is actually reading that data to determine how long the vehicle is sitting still at a given location. So from that, we're able to tell which trucks are parked versus which trucks were just, pulling off to get gas or to get a bite to eat. So we were able to tell what the truck parking volumes are in the region. We also field verified it. Tom Phelan on our staff, he spent a very long night here during the study, visiting all of these locations and field verifying and actually counting the trucks that he saw in all of these official parking areas. And then we took that and compared it with the ATRI data and were able to come up with the parking demand. So as I said, 310 spaces in the region. Your current demand exceeds 530 trucks. So you're already over capacity. We looked at the capacity of all the facilities you have in the region. 7 out of the 9 facilities you currently have are either at capacity or over capacity. The 2 that aren't are pretty far away from I-81 in Montvale, or they're very small, 18 spaces at that pilot travel center in Troutville. So truck drivers will avoid some of the smaller locations, A, because they don't know if there will be spaces available. So they don't know if it's worth their time to go look to see if there's spaces available. And B, there's also concerns about navigating ingress, egress, and maneuvering around in those tighter parking lots. So of those 530, more than 70 are parked on highway shoulders, interchange ramps, and commercial parking lots. So where are the trucks parking when the parking lots are full? The answer is everywhere. We look at I-81 on the shoulders. All ramps between Roanoke and Arcadia, all shoulders from Roanoke to the Botetourt County line were observed with trucks parked on them. I-581 near the Roanoke Blacksburg Airport. all the ramps between I-81 and the US 460 were observed as having trucks parked on them. Garden Road Truck Terminal, you have I believe it's a Kroger distribution center, in that area. So this is the one location where we have that instance where we have trucks that are staging, for their dock time. So we have trucks that are parked back there. And then we also observed, trucks parked at various shopping centers along US 460 and US 11. So the answer is they're parking wherever they can. That final bullet point, this is a headline bullet point, probably should put at the top. Less than 30% of the trucks parked in the region make their next stop in Virginia. So using that hatchery data, we can see where the trucks are going when they leave these facilities. Less than 30% make their next stop in the region. So what's that telling us is this is not a regional issue. This is not an issue of you all have a lot of distribution centers and trucks are staging to access the distribution centers in the region. This is through traffic. So this is a statewide and really state issue that you all are bearing the brunt of because you have a heavily traveled corridor that runs through your backyard. So what that tells us is you need some help. So if we look at the truck parking facility utilization, we forecasted out 2035 to see what your future capacity needs would be. Just in a nutshell, all 9 of your facilities will be over capacity. Total peak overnight utilization is projected to increase from 530 to 650 by 2035. Again, you have 310 spaces. You have less than half the spaces you need to meet 2035 demand. Of course, this is given the land use that's out there today. If you all do see additional distribution centers and investment coming in, industrial distribution type investments, that demand could be exacerbated. That number could go even higher. Okay. So first off, I'm just going to pause right there. So the data that we've shown builds a very good case for this region. You all need help. You've got the numbers to show it, to prove it, to have those discussions with decision makers. So from there, we wanted to jump into some recommendations, and we looked at really best practices really across the country, a lot based here on the East Coast with similarities to Virginia. We separated the recommendations toolbox into different types. The first type that we had was referred to as land use recommendations. The first is to take care of what you all have control over. So when you're looking at potential industrial or distribution center type development, you can use the data that's in this study to assess the typical truck parking and staging needs for those sites so that you can have those discussions with the development community to make sure that you're accounting for the staging needs that are required for that facility. So you're not exacerbating the problem if you do have these developments come in. We also have a recommendation for the commission, the RVRC, to develop a model zoning ordinance that would require truck parking accommodations with compatible land uses. This is something that we've seen work successfully in Pennsylvania. They have localities up there who have a specific zoning ordinance for these types of facilities that mandates the truck parking requirements so that they don't have trucks start staging in the neighborhoods and on shoulders. Of course, that would be a model ordinance because we know that localities will want to tailor that as they see fit, and that's actually what land use 4 is. The land use 3 recommendation is of developing appropriate land use type for truck stops and travel plazas distinct from traditional retail. A lot of times we see that truck stops just fall under retail, but we know that they have different parking requirements and parking needs and access and ingress requirements than a traditional retail shopping center. So having that customized and tailored as well can help put you in position for success. And as I mentioned, land use 4 is really taking, once you've identified the appropriate land use types and you've got that model zoning ordinance, would be for the locality to run the table here to tailor that to fit your local needs. The next set of recommendations we have regard public engagement. It's aware that education is an important component of having a successful strategy. Usually when you talk about when you build a truck stop, you know, you hear a lot of them, not in my backyard, right? So a way to kind of try to overcome that is with education. First off, a lot of people don't understand that truck drivers do have mandatory federal requirements. A lot of people don't understand that they are electronically monitored and they don't have a lot of time to find a parking space. A lot of people don't know that there's no information getting back to the driver in advance to tell them where the parking places are. So they actually have to hunt around or rely on talking to other drivers to figure out where the spaces are available. So having a public education program that illustrates those items and also demonstrates the importance of trucking to the economy. Everything in the store comes off of a truck. It's really a critical backbone to this nation's economy. So we need to be able to really recognize the truck drivers as people, and that they need to have their needs met to be able to carry out their jobs. Once you do get to the stage of planning for a truck parking facility, let's say you have a travel plaza that wants to come in and locate, engage the community early to ensure there's compatibility in planning and design. You want to make sure you're talking to your citizens about ingress, egress, lighting, noise, so that you can abate all of that on the front end instead of waiting until you're about to approve the development. Everybody's coming knocking on the door saying what's going on. So we found that early engagement. And that's really typical of almost every land use decision we make, right? Early engagement can help smooth that over. The next group of recommendations we have involve economic development. Again, you have good data showing you have a very high demand in this region for truck parking. So if a national truck travel plaza operator is knocking on the door of the Virginia Economic Development Partnership saying, hey, we're looking to expand into Virginia, where should we go? Here. Here's where they should go. So being able to take the data from the study and prove that you have demand and a very high demand should be marketed to help attract those national operators to this region. Another strategy that we've seen with success in other states is identifying public-private partnerships. So these can be, for example, let's say VDOT has some residual property that they're not really doing anything with. You have a travel plaza operator that wants to come in, but they need additional land. There could be an opportunity there for them to leverage the VDOT property to expand their parking spaces versus what they could only get on the adjacent property that's actually being marketed. So that's one example that we've seen. Nevada, for example, has done that multiple occasions where they have they might have required right away for a construction project, and then the state's just holding on to it, but they're not really doing anything with it anymore. You also see examples where you bring public operators in to operate, or private operators in to come and operate the vending and the commercial side of the travel plaza, but then the actual parking spots are owned by the state or locality or another government agency. So there's opportunities out there. We've got the example of the report, but just wanted to put that on your radar that we have some success with that in places like Maryland and Nevada. Policy recommendations. So this is where the funding comes in. So first off, just evaluating the regional funding opportunities that you have on our existing programs. I'm not going to go into these in detail here, but we have a full list of all funding programs you can use for truck parking in the report, along with what they can be used for. Some of them do have specific requirements, things that they can be used for and can't be used for, but that's in the report. As Chris mentioned, he would love to recruit those of you who were on the stakeholder committee to form a freight advisory task force to help execute these recommendations and champion these recommendations. And beyond truck parking, I'm sure there's other freight needs in the region, or freight topics that we've seen these groups get together and discuss, as well as parking. You all have two unique sources of funding that have not been used for truck parking, but in our research and our discussions with representatives of the state, we have not seen where there would be prohibited from being used for truck parking. And that is the ID1 Interstate Operations and Enhancement Program and Smart Scale. For example, Smart Scale has been used to build parking lots all over the state. It's never been used for truck parking, for example, at a rest area. In order to be eligible for Smart Scale, you have to meet a V-Trans deed. We looked at the V-Trans deed on ID1. Safety is all over ID1. And I can't think of a more unsafe condition than having trucks parked on the shoulder overnight with cars running 80 miles per hour next to them. So I think there's an argument to be made there. And of course, those discussions need to happen with the Office of Intermodal Planning and Investment. But we did talk to them preliminarily, and they said that while it has been used for truck parking, they didn't see why it would be prohibited. It just hasn't been done before. So there's an opportunity there that needs to be explored. Assuming that's a go, the next recommendation would be to identify candidate projects for Smart Scale application. Other policy recommendation is coordinating with neighboring regions. Again, this issue is larger than the Roanoke region. So when we say coordinating with neighboring regions, we're not just talking about Shenandoah Valley and going down into Bristol, West Virginia, Maryland. The ID1 Corridor Coalition is a group that should be engaged. They haven't really been very active lately, but they are still there. But having that coordination, because this is a larger problem than just this region, and any truck parking that can happen in any of those neighboring regions, this region will see the benefit of. Something that we've seen in other states is a parking space tax credit. This would be honestly, this would take, this is a long range recommendation because this would take a change in state legislation. But we've seen other states that have a parking space tax credit at the state level. So the businesses that provide for truck parking actually do get a tax credit. So that's something that we saw that was interesting, that might be worth exploring, especially if you can get some of the other neighboring regions on board to make a case at the state level. Again, I mentioned we've got a list of all the funding programs that you can leverage for truck parking. I'm not going to read these in the interest of time, but they're in the report. And then our capital projects recommendation is to start looking at potential candidate locations for new or expanded truck parking facilities. And the personal criteria that would be appropriate would be a minimum of 10 acres, something that's currently zoned industrial or agricultural, and located within 2 miles of a highway interchange. As we saw, that the trucks don't want to go too far off the interstate, so keep them close to your highway interchanges. We ran a quick GIS exercise to determine how many parcels you all have that meet this criteria, and it's a lot. We're not going to show that here because we don't want anybody to think that we're targeting their property. But there's an abundance of properties along the I-81 corridor in this region that meet that criteria. So we've taken all these recommendations and we've included them into an easy to reference toolkit in the report. In addition to the recommendations, we identified a responsible party, whether it's local, regional, or state. The time frame, whether it's short-term, mid-term, or long-term. And then also if there's a prerequisite, because some of these need other actions to happen. Some of these need to fall in order before you can move on to the ultimate, the longer term recommendations. So we've identified that as well, so it's easy to understand what the action is, who's responsible for it, when it needs to happen. So with that, I thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for a good presentation. Any questions?
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
What is the economic impact that you looked at it as a community, as a community? You had a brand new truck plaza coming into your locality. Is there a way to gauge what the economic impact of that area would be?
Yeah, so there is. I don't have the numbers in front of me, and I think we did add them in the report after our last meeting. I have to go through and find them. But it's a positive. Not only is there increase the tax base, but you're also creating jobs for your region. And oftentimes you'll see adjacent businesses locate next to your travel plazas. So it kind of creates a synergy in those areas where you do have a love, or especially some of these more national, providers, because the fast food place across the street, and other things that will happen. But it is a positive, and I think the numbers in here, I just have to look through. Okay, yeah. And so I know we talked about that after our last stakeholder meeting, and I know we put that in here after the conversation. Let's get over what the number is.
Would you consider Lucky's a private parking space for trucks?
So Bucky's does not allow trucks.
Does it?
Bucky's is auto only.
Okay, didn't know that.
Yeah,
If you allow trucks there, you never get a brisket sandwich.
that's true.
Very good. Any more questions? Okay, now I've got a question. It's not for you. Is anyone among us today interested in serving on a truck task force committee?
Yeah.
So raise your hand. I see a hand back there. I know you are. I'm trying to get you some troops.
I appreciate it too.
Hunter,
Yeah.
anybody else? Cody,
Good summer.
who else?
Summer.
How about at the table up here? Gentleman from Botetourt.
Well, I'm not sure I'll be on this. There's three of us wanting to serve here.
Oh, really?
I've made it sound too good.
Yeah.
So now they're trying to take my spot. I don't think I'm gonna let them.
Who are these people do we need to talk to? Like Hobo. Okay, you got some names there, Chris, if you want to jot those down. Thank you very much.
Thank you for
And I
that.
think that there's a lot of potential.
This is too far.
For sure.
We can explain.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that presentation, very thorough. That was a clip note version. I asked for a copy yesterday, and it's a lot shorter than the 200-page. Okay.
You gonna send that, you'll send this out.
Yeah.
The presentation out.
I believe it's linked to the agenda.
Oh, it is?
We need to, we can get back and send that.
Link to the-
It's a huge file, so most email won't accept it as accurate. We can send you a link.
Nice
Or
presentation.
just this, you
Or
got,
you can grab a copy off the desk.
oh, okay.
While supplies last.
I'll do that.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that good presentation. All right, moving on to item 7, out of cycle STBG request. Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. Yes, okay. Maybe have a motion to approve the truck parking study and accept.
So moved.
Second. Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much. Let's move on to item 7, out of cycle STBG request. Allison Stinnett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hello, everybody. So this was previously brought to the TPO a couple months ago. And we had this similar presentation at the TTC. And it was for the increase of funding for this project for 19th Streetscape Improvement Phase 2. And they were requesting an additional funding of $845,240. And so that was due to an increase of stormwater management. The TTC has, the TTC has recommended for approval of this project. There hasn't been any other additional information. This is just the approval process. We did have a public engagement for this, and it ran from November 19th to December 2nd. And we advertised Roanoke County's 419 projects that were active at the time. We had some comments about those, but not about this project. So, but the majority of those responses were positive. We advertised it on Cardinal News and on the website. And so with this money change, I just wanted this to be, feared this would be a question. So it would be decreasing the existing financial balance entry of this number. And then we had an increase from another project. So we went ahead and added it into this information. So it ends up totaling our balance entry through FY31 or the program to about 9.7 million.
I do have an updated resolution for you to sign because I mixed up two numbers in the resolution. So I have the new resolution for you to sign. Do we have any questions?
Okay. No questions. We'll move on to part B. Public hearing. I'll open the public hearing. Any something?
Not really. We're getting this set up. Sure.
No one signed up to speak, no one in waiting.
No one that.
Okay, then I will close the public hearing, move on to item 7C, consideration of resolution approving the cycle request for FY 26 through 2031 STBG grant and carbon reduction program financial plan, page 63 through 64 of your packet. That said, I'll take a motion to approve item 7C.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? Second by Vice Chair. Let's do a roll call.
I guess, Mr. Chair, Mr. Tuck,
Yes.
good nicely.
Here.
Here North,
Yes.
Mr. Radford,
Yes.
Mr. Volleson,
Yes.
Mayor Cobb,
Yes.
Mayor Turk,
Yes.
Mr. Holiday,
Yes.
Mr. Stovall,
Yes.
Mr. Chocolate.
Yeah.
Mr. Huber,
Yes.
and Mr. King.
Yes.
Thank you to the TTC. Y'all just a bang up job down there. Thank you. Toby, you're the chair, right?
This year. Thank you,
Good
sir.
job. Thank you. All right, moving on to item 8, round 7 STBG CRP 27 through 32 fiscal year existing and new project updates. Pages 765 through 68 of the packet. Allison?
Thank you, sir. So, from the last meeting, we actually had the small presentations of the new project, so I wanted to give you more in-depth, well, for overview of the, updates from the last, for the annual update. So these are the existing projects. Now, this is a lot to look at, but it's a little easier than me giving you a bunch of tables. But essentially from this, we're moving a lot of projects in the STBG program. Just the highlights, we received 2 permanent UP or 3 permanent UPCs. And we either currently have or we're getting ready to start preliminary engineering in 6 projects. 3 projects are currently in right of way or moving towards right of way. 13 in construction or just completed construction, and then 5 that have just been completed or in the process of closing out. So that's a lot of projects, and it's been really good. And we received really good feedback from the updates. A in-depth list of the updates have been provided in the staff. So.
Okay. Any questions, Allison, on any of the information on page 65 through 68? All right, then thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, is there, moving on to item 9, any other business, council, TCM? Right. Item 10, comment period by RVTPO policy from members and or the public. You might have anything to share with us today?
Mr. Chair, I have 2 quick items.
Yes.
To share with you. So, first of all, many of you are also on the regional commission board, but for those of you who are, I want to make sure you saw the copy of the commission's annual report, which is on the desk in front of you, and I encourage you to review that. A significant amount of work that is captured in that annual report is work that happens at the TPO level, and I want to thank Jessica and Warren for pulling that together this year. I'm very excited about the work that we've accomplished as an organization. So please grab a copy. I'm happy to email you a copy as well. And since the Blue Ridge Innovation Corridor came up earlier in the meeting, as they had a meeting right before Thanksgiving where they provided an update to the region. There's an enormous focus out of that group on Route 220, particularly south of Marshville to the North Carolina line. They have put out a call for folks interested in serving on a steering committee to help drive that work. And both myself and Ms. Smith, representing the regional commission as chair in Franklin County, have expressed an interest to make sure the region was represented on that group. But if anyone else is interested or wants to be somehow engaged as they're building that kind of project committee, please let me know. I'm happy to connect you to Rachel Yost, who is the executive director of the Innovation Corridor. We will have them at the January meeting of the TPO as well to provide an update on their work and where they expect on going with the 220 project. Just wanted to share those two items. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Need more people because that runs all the way from North Carolina line all the way to Virginia Tech, up to Covington. So don't be shy. It's mostly gonna be virtual meetings, I think.
Yeah, I believe and I do have a sort of an information sheet that they'd shared with us that if you're not ready to actually express an interest but want to learn more, just let me know. You'll have that and I'll forward that to you.
Okay. Don't be so shy. I see a hand up.
I'm not volunteering, but I'm just a comment for the good. You're out driving around and you see the large lighted X's at each end of runway 1634. The contractor is on site today for probably, depending on whether 10 days or so to restore the full capability of the EMAS that United Express decided to drive through.
Oh, that's been busy over there. See, man, this year has glad that served a good purpose though.
Did its purpose.
They did. Just a side note. This is going to be an interesting General Assembly. Budgets are going to be tested because of federal mandates. The money committees are taking a very conservative approach right now from what I've been hearing from several people. And the delegates have been instructed by the budget committee will be coming in with a lot of budget bills right away. So how long that's going to last, I don't know. Probably until they get the governor's budget to tweak it a little bit, then they may see how much money they got to play with. But $1 billion reauthorization to K through 12 is on the agenda. Staff and some of the same CSA, Children's Services Act. And I might also just tell you this, that the Children's Services Act is costing every government in Virginia more money every year. And so our school system is looking to enlist others in this region, but also those strategically throughout the state to express an interest in a pilot program. And Delegate Rasul is helping us in that effort. So if you're interested in that, reach out to Ken Nicely or Jamie Soltis with Roanoke County Schools, because in the 8 years I've been on the board of supervisors, the cost has doubled, more than double. It's gone from about 6 million a year all the way up to 14 and rising. It's non-sustainable. That's the equivalent of, well, you take 14, 15 million divided by 1.3. That's how much cents on the real estate tax revenue that's worth. It's out of control. And so the thought is if you can get a test pilot program going across the state with strategic folks that serve on the money committees like Hampton Roads, Senator Lucas, and also Chesapeake, Virginia. If you can get those school systems to join with a pilot program, maybe we can get the state to work to support some funding for the pilot program, but also once the pilot program takes off and is successful, because today, if you run your own in-house program, you don't get any money for that from the state of Virginia. So there's something outside of transportation to keep your eyes on. Anyone else got any comments? Okay, if there are none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And by the way, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. See you next year. And don't forget, fly ROA.
Thank y'all.